What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and we've established in previous videos why Metalfrogs are so totally awesome. We've talked about how to play the deck in the last video, we've seen the deck profile, but now let's talk about how viable the deck's gonna be in the future. And now there are a lot of really good decks coming out in the near future. We have DDDs, Zoodiacs, Eidolons, or Invokers as they'll probably be called in the TCG. But there's gonna be a poll in the top right corner of the screen. Let me know which of those you would like to see more of on this channel. But some of the two biggest decks coming out soon in my opinion are DDDs and Zoodiacs. And those are also the two that are coming out first, and so I played a match against both of those, and I'm going to show those to you right now. So let's go ahead and get into it. And so game 1 we're playing against DDDs, and we opened a pretty good hand, but unfortunately we're going second. And so he's able to special summon Lamia and tribute summon for a Vanity's Fiend. And in this deck, the only out that we have the Vanity's Fiend is Eccentric Archfiend, and so we just have to keep setting monsters and passing, hoping that we draw the Vanity's Fiend, or I'm sorry, that we draw into the Eccentric Archfiend. And so I set the Bismugear first because hopefully that'll thin the deck out a little bit, increasing the chance of drawing the Eccentric Archfiend. But we don't, and so we're forced to just keep on setting monsters. I do normal summon a Gold Driver to attack his set monster so that he can't just keep gaining resources. But then eventually he's able to tribute summon for a second Vanity's Fiend, and that's just game at that point. Like, I can't draw two Eccentric Archfiends. And so game 2 we're able to go first, and we opened up a pretty good hand. It's decent. We have 3 Metalfoes, a high and a low scale, and that alone is going to make our hand a lot better. So we set both of our 1 scales, and we use Silver to pop Gold Driver to set combination. Then we activate the Volflame and Pendulum Summon back to Gold Driver, then use Volflame to set full Metalfoes Fusion, before setting our counter in Vanity's Emptiness. And so now we've actually gotten all of our Metalfoes Speller Traps out the deck, plus having Vanity's Emptiness on board as well. So he activates a Vector, and who plays that anymore, right? But it's going to negate all of my Metalfoes Speller Traps in their Pendulum Zone. He uses the Green Slime to summon Genghis, but when he activates Green Slime's Graveyard effect, I negate that with the Vanity's Emptiness, and then he's pretty much forced to attack direct and pass turn. And now I draw into a Dupe Frog, which is perfect because it has 2000 defense, so he's not going to be able to get over that. So I just set my Dupe Frog in order to give me one extra turn to sort of set up, because I can't really do much with that Vector negating my Metalfoes Speller Trap. Because the original plan was to just use the scale to destroy combination, and then search my other one, and then Emptiness would be destroyed, and I could go off from there. But I can't do that with the Vector. And so then, on my next turn, I just use the Dupe Frog to crash into the Genghis, and then use counter, to special summon Volflame to attack over the Genghis, and then go into a Crumble Logos to negate the Vector. So I destroy combination to set fusion, then use combination to search Bismugear, then I go ahead and Pendulum Summon all of my monsters. And the reason I didn't set the Bismugear and then destroy the Volflame and then set my 1 scale last was because I didn't have any more Metalfoes Speller Traps in the deck. So I fused for Mithrilium and shuffled back my counter combination to bounce my own scale back to my hand. That way I can activate Bismugear to destroy the Volflame setting combination and then activate Stealing setting counter. So essentially I was able to move my Metalfoes Speller Traps from the graveyard onto the field with that play. So it was a really good play for setting up for next turn, because I still had the full Metalfoes Fusion set too. So then on his next turn, he still has that gate, and so he's able to tribute my Crumble Logos for a Kaiju, and then he uses Ragnarok to try to banish my Mithrilium, but I'm going to chain full Metalfoes Fusion. And I thought about going for an Alcahest here, because Alcahest might be able to stop his play, but at the time he still had 3 cards in hand, and so I didn't quite know what he could do with those 3 cards. I don't know what those are, and 1 Alcahest will get me 1 stop, and that would be my only form of defense. So I figured the better play, because I do have combination, would be to just make a board so big that he couldn't break no matter how many plays he had unless he had a board wipe. And if he had a board wipe, that means clearing his own monsters as well, and so he's clearly not going to do that. So instead I decided to fuse for an Orichalc, and then bring back the Mithrilium, and then use Mithrilium's effect to special summon a Bismugear. That way, even if he clears my whole board, I still get to search something on my next turn. Or at the end of this turn, I should say. And so he goes into Kali-Yuga and destroys all the Speller Traps on the field, even triggering the combination, so I'm fine with that. Then he attacks into Mithrilium, and so I summon a Gold Driver. So because I have Orichalc, I can just crash into the Kali-Yuga and attack direct with my other monsters. But unfortunately, I'm a bad player, so I forgot to turn Gold Driver into attack. And I would have had game if I did do that, but I honestly just forgot. And so then I just set both my scales, destroy Bismugear myself to set the fusion, and then I fuse for a Mithrilium, add fusion back to the deck so I can set it again, then use counter to add back a low scale, and then Pendulum Summon back all of my monsters. And now I actually miscounted a little bit, and I should have Pendulum Summoned the Swap Frog with it. However, I didn't want to get rid of the Kaiju on my field because I didn't want him to Kaiju me again. And so by keeping the Gameciel on my side of the field, it keeps him from being able to Kaiju my other monsters. So I just decided to go for the Outcast because he did only have that 1 card in hand. And so I knew that I'd probably be able to stop 1 card with 1 Outcast, and he wouldn't be able to kill me through my board and clear my scales. Not with just 2 cards, pretty much. So he plays 1-for-1 summoning Kepler, then uses Gate to get a Lamia. And then when he normal summons the Lamia, I just take it with the Outcast, and that just ends the game right there. And so now we go ahead into game 3. And he activates another gate going first, then a lure, then uses the green slime to summon Genghis, green slime's graveyard effect to summon Thomas, and then brings back the red slime. And now, I'm not really too well versed in DDDs yet, I'm still learning the plays, but someone in the comment section, let me know if this was the correct play. Like, with his hand, could he have done better? Because this is a relatively weak board going first as a DDD player, in my opinion. Like, there's no Synchros, there's no Crystal Wing, no Siegfried, nothing. No Hope Harbinger. It just seemed like a very weak hand. So let me know in the comment section what the correct play would have been. I'd really appreciate that. And his only set back row is a Twin Twister. So the first thing I do is I summon my Dupe Frog and destroy it to set a fusion, and then use Dupe Frog's effect to search more frogs. So I'm able to go ahead and make a Totally Awesome before he's able to use that back row, because unless it's a counter trap, I'll be able to negate whatever else he does. So if that's Twin Twisters, which it is, I can negate it with Toad. If there was a barrier, I can negate it with Toad. So that's one of the big benefits of playing this deck. You get to stop anything that isn't a Solemn Strike. If it's a strike, they should probably strike the Toad. And if it's barrier, they have to bury your Xyzes instead of fusions or pendulums. So being able to summon Toad before actually making a play is very useful. So then I'll just set my Full Metal Foe Fusion and then use Bismuth to search a Wolflame. So I do have an Outcast play as well. And now he does tribute Toad for a Kaiju, which I don't necessarily mind. That's one less card he has to play with. And then he Twin Twisters my set Full Metal Foe Fusion and my Scale. So I just chain it, summoning the Outcast. That way that I still have a play to stop him with. So he summons Beowulf, so I take it with the Outcast, knowing that that's a very dangerous card. And it also is going to give Outcast 3000 defense. And then he ends up just going into a Hope Harbinger. But because I had the Dupe Frog, he has to attack the Dupe Frog, meaning I have both Outcast and Mithrilium to deal with it. And so on my next turn, I just bounce it back with Mithrilium, and that ends the game. And so looking back at the DDD matchup, it really seems that who goes first is very, very important, because both decks can make boards so strong that the other player just can't win. And so when you're playing DDDs going first, you can summon Vanity's Fiend and just win the game. Or you can summon your Siegfried plus Crystal Winger plus Hope Harbinger and just win the game. The same thing if you're playing Metalfoes. You can just summon Alcahest Unicorn and you probably win that game. But even if you don't, you can just make boards that they can't kill you. And if they can't kill you, you can just out-resource them. But at the same time, if you go first and you can't make a big board, you will just lose the game to the other deck just having that 6th card. And so like in game 3, he was able to go first, but he made a relatively weak board, and that allowed me to set up my board and clear his. And the same thing would have happened if I was going first and I had a bad hand. He would have that 6th card, and the combo deck having an extra card is so important. So giving DDDs that 6th card is almost certain death. So going first is really important, but also being able to have a quality first turn as well. And if you do go second, you do need to prepare for that. So especially games 2 and 3, going second, you need to side cards that will allow you to play going second. So as you saw in that match, he had Kaijus, which are great going second. But the fact that he kept them in going first is really questionable for me. That's something that I probably would not have done, because going first, it was a card that wasn't a combo card. It was a dead card in his hand. But nonetheless, let's get on to the next match. We'll be playing against Zoodiacs. So game 1, let's take a look at our hand. We have a Silvered, Swap Frog, Ronin Toadin, Raccoon, and Counter. So this hand isn't the best because we have only one Metalfoe, and there's not much we can do with one Metalfoe. But we do at least have the ability to make Totally Awesome, and we have Counter to sort of keep us alive. And so that's just what we're going to do. We're going to special summon Swap Frog, use that to send Ronin Toadin and then make Totally Awesome. Normal summon the Raccoon to search a Unicorn, let them the deck a little bit just to get it out. Then use Silver to set combination, set the counter, and then pass turn. And now one option would have been to tribute summon the Unicorn over the Totally Awesome, but I figured Totally Awesome is a little bit better than Unicorn, possibly. I also didn't know what I was playing against. And so he tries to Twin Twister the back row, which I'm okay with. I'm not going to negate that. Also not going to negate the Max C. But when he activates the Raigeki, I'm forced to negate that. So I take the Raigeki, and then he is able to go into his Zoodiac plays, unfortunately. And then he draws into a barrier, which was, in my opinion, I mean, I guess not lucky he plays it, but unfortunate for me that he drew into the barrier. Then he goes through the rest of his plays and attacks with the Daigusto Emerald. So then on my turn, I draw into a Steelin, and then I go ahead and use Ronin Toadin to special summon it to my side of the field, and then I tribute summon it for a Unicorn. Then I use Swap Frog to special summon itself, discarding another Swap Frog. That way I could special summon the Ronin Toadin back to my side of the field, and then make a Totally Awesome on top of that. But now this is where I made my mistake. So he has a set barrier, and he attaches the Viper to his Drancia. And I should have just let that go because Viper wouldn't do anything until the battle phase. But instead, I tried to use Unicorn to bounce his Drancia, and that gave him the opportunity to chain his barrier before I was able to Pendulum summon, because I do have the set combination still. So then because of that, he's able to destroy my Swap So then because of that, he's able to destroy Swap Frog with Dronsia, so I lose the ability to make Toad. I can't Pendulum Summon, and so I really don't have that many plays left to do. And so I destroy combination to set Fusion, use counter to add back another Metalfoe to my hand, and then I have to fuse for a Mithrilium, because I do have to answer his board, or else he'll be able to just make more plays next turn. So he activates Elemental Triangle and I Chain Max C, and he goes into all of his plays once again. But it's clear that he didn't want to special summon too much to give me too many cards. He couldn't kill me through Unicorn, but he also couldn't deal with the disruption that Unicorn offered. So then, on my next turn, knowing that I had Scales and Unicorn, he just passes because he only had Twin Twisters. So then we go into game 2. And this hand we opened up pretty well. We have 2 8 scales, a 1 scale combination, and Dupe Frog. But unfortunately, we're going second, and so it doesn't quite matter. And so he activates Tinky, goes into his standard Zoodiac plays. So we're going to just sort of watch this play out and note the important things. And so he does have a Twin Twisters, and he does have a Barrier in hand. He's going to activate Daigusto Emerald and use that to draw into a Solemn Strike, which is extremely relevant because now he's able to end this turn with Dronsia, Strike, Barrier, Twin Twister. So he has 4 ways of disruption. And so honestly, there's no way that we can deal with that. So I normal summon a Dupe Frog and destroy that with a Gold Driver. Attempt to go into my Totally Awesome plays. However, he activates Dronsia to destroy my Swap Frog, which will stop my Toad plays. So I decide to go into a Fusion play, figuring that he probably has the Barrier and that he's going to call Fusion in that case. And that still allows me to go through my Pendulum Summon. So that's exactly what happens. He does call Fusion. I just shuffle back my Fusion. And then I just go ahead and destroy my other 1 scale. Play the new 1 scale, which is the Gold Driver. Destroy the other 8 scale. But then time started running out, so I honestly didn't have time to make another play. And so I was forced to just really quickly set the Full Metalfoes Fusion, hoping that he would trigger the counter, allowing me to summon another Metalfoe, and use Full Metalfoes Fusion to fuse for an Outcast, or whatever I needed to fuse for, in order to stop his plays, or at least slow him down and survive to get to that next turn, because I did feel like I only needed 1 more turn. But what I didn't know was that he had the Strike set. And so even if I had more time, I would have probably ran right into the Strike and lost that game. So having Strike, Barrier, Twin Twisters is just... it's just too much, honestly. He had way too much disruption for me. So now we're going to go into game 3, and we're going to get to go first. So let's look at our hand. We have 2 Gofus, 1 counter, 1 silvered, and 1 Dupe Frog. So not a very good hand. All we can really do is set up some defenses. So we're going to special summon Gofu, normal summon Dupe Frog, destroy the Dupe Frog to get our plays going. Because I wanted something to destroy so I could set the Full Metalfoes Fusion with the counter. That way when he destroys something on my side of the field, I can special summon a Metalfoe. And then use the Full Metalfoes Fusion to go for an Outcast if I need to. And I figured if I'm going to destroy something, it would be better to destroy either the Gofu or the Dupe Frog. I didn't want to destroy a token, because that way he could just attack a token. Then when I activate the counter, I don't have the second token to make the Outcast. And now unfortunately his 6th card was a Twin Twisters. So he was able to just destroy the Twin Twister and the counter. And then he goes into his standard Zoodiac plays, and I really can't do anything to stop it. So we're just going to watch this unfold. He goes into the Emerald before going into his Instant Fusion play once again, to summon the Northern to go into another free Bullhorn, to search a Thoroughblade. Use the Emerald to shuffle back his cards, and then draw a Ghost Ogre. So fantastic draws off the Emerald. Probably couldn't have drawn any better. Then he has the Dronsia to pop my only scale, my only Metalfoe. So now I just special summon the second Gofu and use that to tribute summon a Unicorn. At least it can't be targeted or destroyed, so it doesn't do anything for Dronsia. And now attack the Viper, knowing that he's not going to let that attack go through. He's going to use Viper's effect to attach to something else, knowing that I'll get the replay. I can attack over the Emerald, because Emerald is really the main problem with that board. The only thing stopping me from making plays. He has the Emerald, and then he has the Viper. But what I can do is force the Viper effect and then bounce whatever he attaches the Viper to. So then he activates the Elemental Triangle to special summon a Thoroughblade, uses Thoroughblade's effect to draw another Twin Twisters, normal summons the Viper, then forces the Unicorn effect, so I have to bounce it and one of his level 4s, because I don't want him going into another rank 4, but he's able to anyways, because that's what Zoodiacs do. He shuffles back his cards and draws again into... So now he has 2 Twin Twisters and 2 Ghost Ogres. I mean, the 2 Ghost Ogres is nothing to worry about. He can only use 1 per turn, but the 2 Twin Twisters is a problem. Plus the 2 Dronsias. So then I draw into my 3rd Gofu. I special summon Gofu and activate the effect. And then he uses Dronsia to destroy the Gofu, so I have to normal summon my Swap Frog, which he uses Ghost Ogre on. I still send the Ronin Toadin, and I try to bring back the Ronin Toadin, and when I end my turn, he destroys the Ronin Toadin with a 2nd Dronsia, drawing into a 2nd Instant Fusion. Then he uses Daigusto Emerald to shuffle back Norden and some of his Zoodiac Xyz monsters. And he already has a full field, but he does even more to put enough damage on board to OTK me that turn. And so just looking at the Zoodiac matchup, I think it's pretty balanced, to be honest. I just drew a very bad hand game 3. I don't think that the Zoodiacs or Metalfoes have a really good matchup against the other. I think it's very balanced, to be honest. We both have cards that trouble the other deck. So like Drontia, there's a lot of problems because they can just pop your scales. Drontia is a big problem because they can just pop your scales and you can't attack over it. But even just popping your scales isn't a very huge issue, and outside of that, they don't really have any engine cards that are problems for us. And the biggest problem that's in their deck is honestly the traps. And because they are able to just draw through their deck so much with Daigusto Emerald, I think that hurts a lot because their Zoodiac plays only take one card. Like you need one Tinky, you need one Terratop, one Mormorat. Just you have maybe 9 or 12 cards in your deck that you just need one of. That will get you through all of your Zoodiac plays. They'll get you your Drontia, and they'll get you your Emerald to shuffle everything back, or they'll get you whatever your other rank 4 you want is. And I think that's a really huge problem because that leaves them 5 or 4 other cards that can stop you. And even if you look at the whole Zoodiac engine as a whole, if you max out on everything, like 3 Terratop Take Temborg, 3 Tinky, 3 Marmorat, 3 Triangles, like you maybe will get to 20 cards max. But that still leaves you 20 more cards to deal with other decks. It leaves you 20 cards for Twin Twisters, for Barriers, for Solemns. And so all of those other cards that aren't Zoodiacs hurt. And because they thin their deck out and draw more cards with the Daigusto Emerald, it allows them to draw into those extra cards that they even might open with. And it really allows them to set up these boards of Drontia plus traps, or plus Twin Twister, plus Ghost Ogre. And those things just hurt a lot. So I think that's the real strength of Zoodiacs and the real problem that Metalfrogs have with them, and Metalfoes in general even. And so what I think we can do to sort of combat that is we need to slow them down. And so I think anything to stop their engine like Ghost Ogre, Snow Rabbit, or Flying Sea, Maxi, even any of those hurt them a lot. And so if you just get that one extra turn, I think a lot of times you'll be able to win. Or even going first, if you can make a really good board, you'll just win. Because they can go into their Xyz, you can just take it, and that just ends their turn a lot of the time. But nonetheless, I do think Metalfrogs are a very good deck for the future. As you saw, they can beat DDDs, and they can beat Zoodiacs. It just depends on what they draw. So like game 2, he had Barrier, Strike, Twin Twister, Drontia. That's not a board that they're gonna make every single game. That's not a board that you can consistently make. You just can't draw a Strike and a Barrier every single game. You can't count on that. So then even game 3, we drew a very bad hand. Like we had 3 Gofus within the course of 2 turns, or 3 turns, however many turns it was. But that's not gonna always happen. That's just bad luck, you know. So all in all, I'm still pretty happy with Metalfrogs, and it's something that will continue playing going forward. Let me know what you think about the deck in the comment section below. So if you like Metalfrogs, please like this video to let me know that you want to see more Metalfrog stuff in the future. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys later. Bye. Those cerulean tides, sapphire, sapphire.